I've been a therapist for over 20 years, and I thought I had heard it all. But that morning, when Ethan walked into my office and said, "I'm in love with my wife's best friend," I knew this wouldn't be just another session. My name is Dr. Evelyn Moore. I'm a clinical psychologist, and though I've sat with people through some of their most vulnerable moments, some stories still stay with me, not because they're scandalous, but because they show just how complicated love, guilt, and identity can be. Ethan's story was one of those. He was 35, clean-cut, button-down shirt, watch that looked like a gift from a milestone birthday, wedding ring still on. He walked in with this quiet energy, like he was trying to hold himself together by the seams. He didn't sit right away, just stood there, looking at the chair like it might swallow him whole. "Take your time," I said gently. He nodded and sat down, slowly. He placed his hands on his thighs, then folded them, then unfolded them. His wedding ring caught the light. He noticed that too, and sighed. "I don't even know where to begin," he said. I told him we didn't need to rush, so we sat in silence for a few seconds. The soft hum of the heater in my office filled the space. "I love my wife," he finally said. "I think I do. I should. We've been together for 11 years. She's a good person, but lately, I feel like I don't exist to her anymore. Like I'm a piece of furniture in our house. Useful, but invisible." He looked up, and his eyes were already a bit red. He was holding himself too tightly, shoulders tense, jaw clenched. "And Rachel?" I asked, gently. He looked at me, startled. "You guessed." "No, you told me. Not directly, but I heard it." He gave this half-laugh, half-groan. "Yeah, Rachel. She's Olivia's best friend. They met in college, been inseparable ever since. She was my sister-in-law by friendship, always around. Family holidays, birthdays, vacations, and for years, it was just friendly. She'd joke, we'd tease each other, nothing more." He paused, rubbing his forehead. "But about a year ago, Olivia got promoted. Big job, bigger hours, more stress, and Rachel was just there, listening, noticing me. We'd text, then we started meeting for coffee. I told myself it was innocent, but the way I felt when I saw her, it wasn't innocent. It felt like coming up for air." I watched him closely. There was no arrogance in the way he spoke, no pride, just shame, and something deeper. "Grief, maybe. Are you having an affair?" I asked, calmly. He nodded, very slowly. "Yes, it's not just physical. We talk about everything. She knows things about me. Olivia never asked, and I know it's wrong. I hate myself for it. But when I'm with her, I feel like I'm someone." I leaned forward slightly. "Someone?" He blinked. "Yeah, like Ethan. Not Olivia's husband. Not the guy who mows the lawn and fixes the sink. Just me. I laugh with Rachel. I feel seen. Wanted." There was a silence between us, thick with conflict. "What do you want, Ethan?" He shook his head. "I don't know. I want it to stop, but I don't want to lose her. And I can't even talk to Olivia about anything anymore. She's always tired, always in control. It's like there's no space for me in my own marriage." I let that breathe for a moment. "Have you told Rachel how you feel?" He looked away. "She knows, but she said she doesn't want to be a homewrecker, even though, technically, she already is. I guess we both are." "What does she want?" "She wants me to make a choice. She said she's tired of hiding, that if I don't talk to Olivia, she'll walk away." "And are you ready to make that choice?" His eyes welled up. "That's the thing. I don't know who I am without Olivia, but I don't want to go back to feeling numb. And Rachel, she makes me feel like a man again." I stayed quiet for a few seconds. This wasn't just a confession. It was a man unraveling after years of playing a role he never truly chose. "Ethan," I said, softly, "you're not here because of Rachel. You're here because something inside you cracked open, and now you can't put it back together the same way." He looked at me, really looked, and his face changed, a flicker of something like relief, like he didn't need to keep justifying himself. "You think I'm a terrible person?" he asked, almost like a child. "No," I said. "I think you're a man who's tired of being invisible. But before you make any decisions about Rachel or Olivia, you need to find yourself first. Otherwise, you'll just keep disappearing in someone else's story." That's how our first session ended. Ethan left with the same slow steps he came in with, but something had shifted. His eyes weren't darting around the room anymore. He had looked straight at me as he left and said, "Thank you. I didn't think I deserved to be heard." And that's when I realized this wasn't about infidelity. It was about identity, about how we lose ourselves in the roles we play, husband, provider, good guy, and how sometimes it takes a forbidden love to show us how long we've been gone. Ethan came back the following week. He was 15 minutes early, standing in the hallway outside my office like a man waiting for a verdict. When I opened the door, he gave me a small, tense smile. Same shirt style as before, same polished shoes, but something in his face had shifted, like he hadn't slept, but wasn't tired, like his mind had been louder than his body. He sat down faster this time, not because he was more comfortable, but because he needed to get it out. "I did something," he said, eyes flicking to mine. I waited. I told Rachel I needed space. I didn't respond right away. I could feel the weight behind that sentence, and the ache. "How did she take it?" I asked. "She cried. She said she saw it coming, said she'd rather step away than be someone's secret forever." And I told her she was right. His voice cracked. "But I didn't tell her it's because I'm planning to fix my marriage, because I'm not. I just don't know anything right now." I told her I needed to breathe. He looked down at his hands. She said, "Then go find your breath, Ethan. And when you know who you are, come find me, if that's still what you want." We sat in silence for a moment, the kind of silence that holds grief and clarity at once. "What did you feel when she said that?" I asked. Like I didn't deserve her. Like I don't deserve either of them. I could hear the swirl of guilt, the kind that isn't just about doing something wrong, but about being unsure if you ever did anything right to begin with. "Tell me more about Olivia," I said. He hesitated. "She's strong, always has been. She organizes everything, schedules, bills, holidays, our whole life, even sex, Tuesday nights, every other week. Sometimes she forgets, and I don't remind her. Why not? Because I don't want to be another task." I nodded slowly. That sentence said more than he knew. "She's not cruel," he went on. "She's tired, focused, and I admire that, but I don't think she sees me anymore. Like, if I disappeared tomorrow, she'd just manage it." "What do you mean?" He took a breath, eyes unfocused now. "Last month, I was late getting home. I'd been with Rachel, but I told Olivia I was stuck at work. She didn't even look up from her laptop, just said, 'Okay, there's leftovers in the fridge.' That was it. No. Where were you? No suspicion. No nothing, like I'm a background app in her life." The pain in his voice wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, raw, the pain of being unnoticed for too long. "And that hurt?" I asked. He looked at me, angry now, but not at me. Of course it hurt. I wanted her to be angry. I wanted her to see me, to slam a door, demand answers, something. But she just didn't. I leaned forward slightly. "What would it mean to you if she had reacted?" He hesitated. "It would mean I still mattered." There it was, the core. This wasn't about cheating. This was about longing, about a man who no longer recognized his reflection in the marriage he built, and who clung to Rachel because she saw him when he felt invisible. "Do you still love Olivia?" I asked. He stared out the window. "I don't know. I love the idea of her, the life we planned, but I don't know if I love the woman she became. Or maybe I just don't love who I am with her." I let him sit with that. "Can I ask you something?" He said suddenly. "Of course. Do people come here and tell you they're doing what I'm doing? Cheating?" I gave a soft smile. "More often than you think. Not because they're bad people, but because something inside them started dying quietly, and no one noticed." He swallowed hard. "That's how I feel. Like I've been disappearing in slow motion. I could feel it. The shame, the self-loathing, the longing for someone to just say, 'You're not a monster. You're a human being who forgot how to ask for help.' I keep having this dream," he said, softer now. "I'm walking through our house, but it's completely empty. No furniture, no photos, just white walls. And I'm yelling, calling out for Olivia, but no one answers. And then I see Rachel, in the backyard. She's outside the glass, looking at me, but she won't come in. I'm trapped inside." He looked up at me, desperate for some kind of meaning. "I think," I said gently, "that part of you is afraid you don't belong in any version of your life right now." He nodded slowly. "Exactly. I feel like a fraud in both worlds. And who told you that you had to pick a world before choosing yourself? He blinked. No one. But I thought that was the rule. You break it, you fix it, or you burn it down and start over. Maybe, I said. You pause. You stop building for a minute and ask, what do I want to build? And who do I want to be in that house? He looked stunned. Not because the idea was radical, but because no one had ever given him permission to ask those questions. That's when he told me the part he hadn't said last week. There's more, he whispered. I waited. Rachel's pregnant. The words hit the room like a winter gust. Cold, sharp, quiet. My breath slowed. I stayed still, letting the moment settle. Do you know if? He shook his head. Could be mine. Could be someone else's. She was seeing someone casually before things got serious between us. We haven't talked since I asked for space. She doesn't even know I know. What are you feeling now? He exhaled, shaking. Like everything's spinning. Like I ruined 3 lives without even meaning to. And yet, under all that panic, was a strange clarity. A line had been crossed. There was no going back to the illusion of control. I leaned in. You wanted to be seen, Ethan. Now the world might see everything. This baby. This truth. It won't let you stay invisible anymore. So who do you want to be now? He sat back, silent. I could see it, the weight of his own reckoning settling in, and for the first time, he didn't try to escape it. He didn't show up the next week. I wasn't surprised. When someone drops a truth as heavy as the possibility of a pregnancy with another woman, a woman who isn't their wife, sometimes they need time to hear their own words echo back. But 2 weeks later, he returned. This time, he looked different. Not in a dramatic way, no drastic haircut or change in clothes, but in his posture. His shoulders were straighter, his eyes less frantic. He didn't pace outside. He walked in and sat down like a man who had crossed a line and knew he couldn't return. I told Olivia, he said, almost immediately. My breath caught, and I simply said, tell me how it happened. He stared ahead for a moment, then began. It was after dinner. We were sitting on the couch, and she was talking about a project at work. I wasn't even listening, to be honest. I was looking at her face and thinking, she has no idea her entire world is about to break open. He paused. I told her there was something I needed to say, and she just looked at me, a little annoyed, like she was expecting some comment about groceries or the car, and then I said it. I stayed quiet. I told her I hadn't been honest with her, that I had been seeing someone else, that it was Rachel, and that there's a possibility she's pregnant. He swallowed hard. At first, Olivia didn't say anything. She didn't even blink. She just stared at me like I was a stranger who walked in off the street. And then, he hesitated. She laughed. I tilted my head. Laughed. He nodded slowly. Not like it was funny. More like something in her cracked. It was this sharp, dry sound. And then she stood up and said, of all people, Rachel. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She just kept asking, Rachel, like she was trying to undo the word itself. He looked down at his hands. She didn't throw anything, didn't scream. She walked upstairs and shut the door. I slept on the couch. In the morning, she was gone. Left a note that said she'd be staying with her sister. That was 4 days ago. I waited a few beats. And how do you feel? He took a breath. Lighter, and also like the worst human being on earth. That duality. It's something I've seen in many people who choose truth after months or years of lying. The moment you stop hiding, the shame becomes unbearable, because now there's no more excuse. You're exposed and visible. Did Rachel confirm the pregnancy? He nodded. Yes, a few days ago. She texted me. She's keeping it. Says she's ready to be a mom, with or without me. She didn't ask for anything. No pressure. Just honesty. He paused. I told her I needed time. She said, I know, but the baby won't wait for you to figure yourself out. That sentence stayed with me. The baby won't wait. Life rarely does. What do you want to do, Ethan? I asked. He looked up, and there was something softer in his eyes. I don't want to be a liar anymore. I don't want to be the man who lets life happen to him while he floats between women who fill the holes he won't face. I want to be someone my child can be proud of, even if that means being alone for a while. There it was, the first real sign of self-responsibility. You're starting to hear your own voice, I said. He nodded. Yeah, and it scares me. because I'm realizing how many decisions I made just to be chosen. By Olivia, by Rachel, even by my parents years ago. I was always trying to be good enough for someone. And now, I asked, I want to be enough for me. I'm tired of performing. He sat back, eyes glassy. I thought telling the truth would destroy everything. But now I think hiding was what really did the damage. Olivia deserved better. So did Rachel. And so did I. There was no bravado in his voice, just truth, and the ache that always comes with it. And the baby, I asked. I'll be there. I don't know how, or in what role yet, but I'll show up. Fully. He looked at me. I keep thinking about something you said, that I needed to stop building for a minute and ask what I want to build. And I realized, I don't want a life based on fear anymore. Fear of being alone, fear of being hated, fear of failing. I want to build something honest, even if it's smaller, even if people walk away. Sometimes, in therapy, you witness a moment that feels like a shift in gravity. Ethan had crossed a line that many never do, the point where you stop blaming the world for your mess and start picking up the pieces with your own 2 hands. He sat quietly after that, staring at a spot on the floor. I don't know if Olivia will ever speak to me again, he said, but I think, for the first time in years, I'd actually know what to say if she did. He came back after 3 weeks. I wasn't sure if he would. Sometimes, after a major rupture, like the one Ethan had initiated, people retreat. They get scared of what comes next, or overwhelmed by the silence left behind. But Ethan walked into my office with a presence I hadn't seen before. He looked steady, not calm, exactly, but grounded, like someone who had stopped running. I saw Olivia, he said, after sitting down. He waited, maybe to see if I'd brace myself. I didn't. I just looked at him and nodded, letting him know I was here. She called me last Sunday, said she wanted to talk. We met at a park near her sister's place. I thought she might scream or ask me to explain everything all over again, but she didn't. He paused, gathering the memory. She just looked at me and said, "Do you love her?" And I didn't know what to say, because love isn't the right word. Not now, at least. I told her I loved being seen, that Rachel made me feel alive. Yes, but that it was because I'd felt dead inside our marriage for years, and I hadn't told her. I could feel his chest rise and fall, slower than usual. "And Olivia?" I asked. She listened, really listened. Then she said something I'll never forget. He looked up at me. She said, "I always knew something was wrong, Ethan, but I thought ignoring it would make it go away. I thought if I just held everything together, the house, the bills, the plans, it would hold us together too. But you stopped being here long before you left." I let that sit in the air. She wasn't cruel. She didn't try to make me feel small, but she said something else too. He looked away for a second, eyes blinking fast. She said, "The worst part isn't that you cheated with my best friend. The worst part is realizing I never really asked if you were happy. I just assumed you were fine because you never said otherwise." That struck something in me, too. It's something I've heard often in couples, how silence becomes a wall, and assumptions become the wallpaper. And then she said, he went on, "But I also stopped asking myself if I was happy. I think we both were just surviving." He took a deep breath. "She told me she's filing for divorce." There was no panic in his voice, just a strange sense of peace. "She said she doesn't hate me, but she also doesn't want to spend another decade in a marriage that neither of us is really in." And I agreed. He leaned back, eyes tired, but clear. I thought I'd be devastated. I thought I'd fall apart. But when she walked away, I didn't feel abandoned. I felt released. I nodded slowly. "Sometimes endings aren't failures," I said. "They're just honest conclusions." He smiled faintly. "That's what she said, too." "Let's end this with dignity, before we forget the good parts." We sat in silence after that. And I could tell Ethan wasn't just mourning a marriage. He was mourning the version of himself that stayed quiet for too long. That version was finally fading. "And Rachel?" I asked. He hesitated. "She asked me to come to her first ultrasound." He looked at his hands. I said no. I waited, not because I don't want to be involved, but because I realized I need to meet my child as myself, not as a man trying to prove something, not as a runaway husband, just Ethan. I told her I'll be there when the baby's born. I'll support her. But I need this space to build a real foundation. Otherwise, I'll keep repeating patterns. And I won't do that to my kid. There was a strength in his voice I hadn't heard before. Not performative, not rehearsed, just rooted. You're choosing presence over performance, I said quietly. He looked at me, and for a second, I saw tears welling, not from shame, from relief. I used to think being a good man meant never hurting anyone, but now I think being a good man means taking responsibility, even when it's messy, especially when it's messy. I didn't respond right away. I just let those words echo, because they mattered. We ended the session not with a plan, not with steps or goals, but with quiet, the kind of quiet that feels like healing. As he left, he turned back and said, "You were right. This wasn't about Rachel or Olivia. This was about me finally coming home to myself." And I believed him. It had been 2 months since I last saw Ethan. That happens sometimes in therapy. The pause, the space where life takes over. And when it does, I've learned not to assume the worst. Sometimes silence isn't avoidance. Sometimes it's integration, processing, living the choices you finally made. And then, one rainy Thursday afternoon, there he was again, standing in my doorway. He looked different, not like someone who had transformed overnight, but like a man who had been walking through the storm with his eyes open. "Hi," he said, softly. "I didn't have an appointment." "That's all right," I said. "Come in." He sat down. Same chair, same posture, but the energy was different. No more holding his breath. He had exhaled. "I just wanted to tell you what happened," he said. "I'd like that," I replied. He looked out the window for a moment. The rain was soft against the glass. Rachel had the baby, a girl. His voice was quiet, steady. She named her Claire. He smiled, and for the first time since I met him, it wasn't a smile dipped in guilt or confusion. It was warm, full. I was there, in the room. She let me hold her right after she was born. And when I looked at her, this tiny person with no idea of all the chaos that brought her here, I just cried. He paused. I didn't cry out of guilt or shame. I cried because I felt, for the first time in years, I felt everything. Joy, fear, love, responsibility, all of it. And I didn't run from it. He looked at me. "I've made peace with Olivia. We finalized the divorce last week. No drama, just mutual respect. She's dating someone, actually. A writer. She told me she laughs more now, and that made me happy. I don't want her to be a character in my guilt anymore. She deserves to be her own story." There was so much maturity in the way he spoke, so much clarity. It wasn't the kind of growth that shouts. It was the quiet, steady kind, the kind you earn. "And Rachel?" I asked. He smiled again. "We're not together, not romantically. We agreed that right now, the most loving thing we can do is co-parent with honesty and space. No blurred lines, no forced fairy tale, just real, grounded care for Claire and for each other. We talk every day about diapers, pediatricians, sleep schedules, and sometimes about how we ended up here. But there's no pretending, no roles to play." He leaned forward a little. "I used to think the goal was to be forgiven, to fix everything. But now I think the real goal is to stop abandoning yourself and the people you love, just to feel safe." I sat back in my chair, letting those words sink in. "So, where are you now?" I asked. He thought for a second. "I'm living in a small apartment downtown, working fewer hours, taking care of Claire on weekends. I started going to a men's group, real conversations, not just sports and jokes. I'm learning how to be present, not perfect, just present." He paused. "And I write letters to her, Claire, for when she's older. I want her to know the truth, not just what happened, but who I was when she was born, scared, uncertain, but willing to face himself for the first time." I felt something shift in my chest. "I still feel guilt," he said, "but not the kind that eats me alive, the kind that keeps me honest." And then he looked at me, eyes full of something deeper than pride. It was peace. "Thank you," he said, "for not judging me when I couldn't see past my own mess, for helping me find my way back, not to who I was, but to who I could be." I nodded. "That's always been in you, Ethan. You just needed space to remember." We didn't say much after that. He stood, shook my hand, and walked out into the rain. No umbrella, no rush, just a man walking into his life with both feet on the ground. And as I sat there alone in the soft quiet of my office, I thought about how many of us are walking around half awake, waiting for permission to feel something true. Ethan's story wasn't about betrayal. It wasn't even about love triangles or broken vows. It was about something far more universal. The moment you realize you've been living someone else's version of who you should be, and the courage it takes to finally, painfully, lovingly, come home to yourself. If this story touched something in you, take a breath. You're not alone. If you feel safe, share in the comments what part of this story stayed with you the most. No need to name names, just your truth. And if you want to hear more stories from the therapy room, you're welcome here. Always. Remember, hearing stories helps, but it doesn't replace real support. If you're going through something, please find a therapist you trust. Thank you, and see you next time.